Welcome back. Now, when we left off, we were talking a little bit about financial aid for students. Now, the other thing I want to ask, Joe, I'll start with you.
Sure.
Do you think the transition for returning students is more difficult than the average college student?
Well, personally, for me, it wasn't, and I'll tell you why. Where I went to my undergrad, and I didn't do my undergrad at NYIT, I did it at Iona, and the school had a course for adult learners who made these plans. And basically, it was a preparation, and they had a very good counseling, and I think we do too at NYIT, have counselors who will tell you what to expect. You have to remember that if you're a working adult now, and you're going to take on coursework at night or during the day or whenever, you really have to make a plan. You really have to be aware of what your limitations are in terms of energy and time and how much focus you're going to be able to give to your coursework. A lot of the mistakes that I made earlier on were taking on too much, trying to take on too many credits in one semester. But I had the benefit of really good counselors to say, you're not 22, you're not 18, you're an adult now, and you have a whole new set of responsibilities. But the flip side of that was that I would tell transitioning students is that as you've accumulated work experience and years of experience in the real world, you naturally develop skills that you didn't have when you were an undergrad student at the 18 to 22 level. You've learned how to read the instructions. You've gotten into the habit of doing things that they're just habits that you don't have by virtue of your age when you start out in college. So it's kind of a double-edged sword. There are disadvantages to coming in, but there are advantages as well, and they kind of balance themselves out.
So it's safe to assume that your decision has impacted your social life?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. It really, it does. It takes a big toll on you. Unless you are willing to, as I said, you have to be willing to take on, I hate the word multitasking. Mm-hmm. I don't like that word at all because I don't think it has any meaning in the human context. But you have to be able to really organize your time and really know from moment to moment, from hour to hour, from day to day, what do I want to accomplish today? What are my deadlines? What exactly do I have to have done? And the beauty of the professors here is that they are very clear. They're very professional. I finished Dr. Piazza's television production course, and not only was it just a great deal of fun, but it is organized in such a really efficient and professional fashion that for me, coming in from working in front of the camera, now getting a chance to be educated about what goes on behind the camera was not just exciting, but it was really, it was just neat to watch, somebody who's been there and done it. And I think a lot of the professors here have that great benefit of having the real world experience coupled with the education. And his class was just a great deal of fun and a real learning experience for me because I spent all my time on this side of the camera. I mean, I saw all these folks, behind the cameras, and I had sort of an idea of what they were doing, but NYIT's production course was was structured in such a way that you really get an in-depth understanding of what every single one of these people does and what their responsibilities are. Mm-hmm. So, but it is intimidating. You got to have a lot of energy. You really have to have a lot of energy. And you have to be willing to take a lot of risks, right. and everything. Getting out of bed in the morning is a risk, and my belief is that the larger risk you're willing to take, the larger the rewards will be. You're going to fall a lot, you're going to fall down a lot, but you really have to be willing to take that risk, and it can be scary.
Now, Stacey, do you see any difference in the average college student, maybe just coming out of high school, as opposed to a returning student?
Well, we certainly see a difference in the level of enthusiasm starting class, but again, at NYIT, our traditional programs are so career focused that we have the pleasure of seeing students that are really ready to dive into something that they're interested in, which is very different from some of the traditional type of programs and college programs out there. This year, absolutely, we have students who are more enthused about college, realizing and absolutely knowing that the degree is essential, and being so focused on what is it going to mean for me in 4 years from now. And I was recently in a meeting with the president of our institution, Dr. Giuliano, and he used a phrase to talk about a project we were working on, that we need to work harder and smarter on, and I think that translates to to the economic times that we are facing, and the non-traditional age student coming to NYIT, as Joe was explaining. There are other forces of nature, whether you're a non-traditional student or a traditional age student who has a family, who has a job outside of your school works. You're juggling many tasks, and you have to work very hard and very smart to get it all done and figure out how to do it the best to your capabilities in every area of your life.
Now, Joe, do you think that returning students put more effort into their schoolwork than the average student?
Well, I can only speak for myself, and I have an older sister who went to NYIT as an adult. And I would say the answer is yes, absolutely, because it's an old saw, there's no substitute for experience. You know, you've heard it a million times, there's no substitute for experience. And when you've had 5 or 10 years of experience in the real world, and as Stacy so, articulately pointed out, when the economy drops, everybody gets hit with that shock wave, like, wow, I have to reinvent myself. I have to learn more about why I lost my job or why I'm about to lose my job. What's the underpinning of all that? So when the economy was bad in the late 70s, I have a sister who came right out of high school, ran to New York and took a job and was doing great. She was doing gangbusters, and then the bottom fell out of the economy and she found herself in an unemployment situation. Decided to come back to NYIT. Well, she got such a great education here that she was able to retire at 54. Wow. So I think, yes, older students, transitioning students who've had a few years are definitely more motivated than the average student coming in. That's not to say that our undergrads aren't motivated, right. But you've had a little more shell shock when you're out there for a few years.
But on a whole, how rewarding has the experience been?
Fantastic. In my position again, I need to know as much about our faculty and our administration as possible, and there's and our students too. So it's. Sorry, I'm rambling.
Okay, no, that's fine. Well, I just want to thank both of you for joining me today. We hope we showed all of you at home that not all college students pursue their college degrees right out of high school, and that many college campuses have different types of students all trying to succeed. I'm Denise Harlick. Thank you for joining us.